Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Susan.
So excited. We've been talking about the class we're about to do for parents, helping raise self-led kids. And I've got just all this thrill running through me that this powerful model of internal family systems can bring so much relief to parents and their children. Can you say a little bit about it? Because you've been in this field working, you've been trained and using it with parents and children for so many years.
I think relief is a great word that you used because parents are just working so hard to do the best they can and so hard on themselves. And it's hard to be a kid in this world. And we're looking for a little bit more ease, a little bit more joy. And I think that the internal family systems model brings this idea that we all have loving, wise, playful, compassionate inner core. We all have it. But sometimes it gets covered over or blocked out by parts of us that get very intense, whether we want to be perfect or whether we're super angry about something, we're frustrated, or we're a big pleaser. These parts of us develop, and when we see them not as all of us, but just as a part of us, I have a pleaser part, I have an angry part, I have a perfectionistic part. There is a relief that comes when you don't have to identify yourself as just one thing. It just softens. I'm complicated. I have a bunch of parts. I'm not
Yeah.
just one thing. And I can
Yeah.
be a little kinder to that part of me. It must be there for a reason.
That's the thing that I love so much about IFS is that these parts of us are there for a reason, and not just in ourselves, but in our children. The class is going to introduce people not just intellectually, but experientially. So there's going to be, whether you attend live or people tune in later, processes that they can give it a try, kind of take it for a spin and see what does it feel like to become curious about the part that gets really angry or really anxious rather than trying to shove it away or talk yourself out of it. Can you expand on that and then how that
Yeah,
applies to our children and
yeah,
teachers?
I think that's what you just brought up is, I think, one of the central points of internal family systems is rather than try to get rid of something, which I think we've all been taught, like power through it, put it away. That's our culture has taught us that. This model has a really different take. It believes you actually can't get rid of anything. And we've all probably tried and failed to get rid of an aspect of ourselves. IFS believes in building a relationship with that thing that is difficult. So whether that's an anxiety, or your anger, or your, say, perfectionism, or a very critical part, rather than just trying to squash it out of yourself, you start to develop a dialogue with it. You start to think about, okay, critical part, let's get to know you a little bit. Like, why are you here? And when did you come into my life? And what are you trying to do for me? And so rather than just squashing something that just simmers and builds and you can't get rid of it, you start to have a dialogue with these parts of yourselves. And then in relationship with them, often things soften, they relax,
Yeah.
they don't take over completely as much. And that's where that sort of relief comes in. Like it
Yeah.
just doesn't have to be as incredibly hard as it often feels.
And that's been my lived experience. I've been a passionate learner all my life. I've been a therapist for many decades. I've done tons of different trainings. And when I discovered IFS, it was so beautifully overlapping with my model of being the captain of the ship and being calm, connected, compassionate, clear. And now that I'm in the trainings and really diving more deeply, it's changing things inside of me that make me so excited to share with parents. Before we wrap up, I just want to make sure parents understand that how they can bring this to their children begins with learning it for themselves. But you work with children and teens and have for many years with the IFS model. Can you say a little bit
Mhm.
about it?
Yeah, I sometimes I just feel like it's a great party trick. Like I can't believe it always works. But you when you ask kids to try to find a part of themselves, and obviously these are kids who are coming in for therapy, so
Yeah.
maybe they're having difficulty
Yeah.
separating at school, or they're very withdrawn, or they're aggressive. They're coming in for a reason, so we know they're there for a purpose. And when I work on what's going on, what's coming up as problematic, and I ask them to find that part of themselves that's angry or sad or shy or worried, they often just like pop their eyes open and say, "Oh, it's right in my belly." And if I ask them to draw it, they can draw a picture of it, or they can make it out of clay, and they're open. They're open to understanding that they have parts of them. And so in my clinical work with children and teens, I feel like I've seen it, and I've been a therapist for many decades. And I've really seen a kind of softening, a kind of more self-love in these kids and teens, from understanding that they're made up of a lot of different parts.
Yeah.
So I hope in the class we'll be able to do a little bit of experiential
Yeah.
work where parents will get a chance to find a few parts of themselves and dialogue with them a little bit so they can lead the way and guide their kids.
So excited, so happy we've connected, and I encourage people to check out the class. Thank you, Lisa. See you soon for